What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some video game music, and we're back with a tune from the 2007 Mass Effect game, the original one, though this was not on the official soundtrack for Mass Effect. I think it was maybe released later as a bonus or supplemental tune in a special download, but ultimately the soundtrack to the game is fantastic overall. But I've noticed a number of folks online who have played the game multiple times, as I have, are perplexed by why this track was not included on the soundtrack, because it really is one of the best in the whole album, or in the whole game, I should say. And we're talking about the Ilos Battle track, which is to say there is a track in the soundtrack from Ilos, one of the locations in the game, where you encounter this AI program called Vigil, and a long time ago, maybe a year or two ago, I reacted to a track called Vigil from this soundtrack, which is excellent and fantastic. But yes, there's a track called Ilos, which is good, but it's nowhere near as good as this track, the Ilos Battle track, and I'm not sure why. Again, it would have been left off. Now, there are two main composers to the Mass Effect score for the first game, and that is Jack Wall and Sam Hulick, and there's also Richard Jacques, as well as, is it David Cates? I opened up the Mass Effect wiki earlier. Do I have that right? Yeah, David Cates. And then the end credit music was done by this Canadian group. But the point is, because this was not included on the actual soundtrack, where it does list individual composition credits for the tunes, I actually don't know which of the composers did this and how many of them were involved. So because Jack Wall and Sam Hulick are listed as the main composers of the soundtrack, I'm just going to put that in the title until perhaps I find some information otherwise. But yes, Ilos, it's a location in the game where there are ruins of the Protheans, this long extinct species that was very advanced and which may be able to help you with the relics and or information and technology they left behind to stop the galactic destruction wrought by the Reapers, this incredibly old AI species that wipes the galaxy clean of sentient life every 50,000 years. Which is a truth that you sort of learn over time, and I think when you get to Ilos, which is near the end of the first game, I think you're beginning to get a sense of who the Reapers are and what they do and how they pose an existential threat to any thinking, technology, spacefaring-based civilization that is currently in the galaxy. So yes, the Ilos Battle tune plays when you land on the planet and you're searching for these ruins and any information. Now, you eventually meet this AI character called Vigil, and again, a couple years ago I did a reaction to the Vigil tune, which is fantastic. But yes, while you're searching around on the surface of the planet, this tune plays, and it's very, there's a lot of energy to it. There's a sense of urgency because, again, you're in a race against time. There's also this alien mystique to it because, again, you're on a planet that features these tens of thousands of years old secrets and relics from the Protheans who information, in the current generation, it's very limited and hazy because, again, they're a species that have been extinct for a very long time, but a lot of their technology is left over. So yeah, it's a really fitting track sonically, and I think it's one of the best from the game, and therefore, once again, it's very perplexing that it was left off of the original soundtrack. So let's give it a listen. This is Ilos Battle from, I guess, an extended or deluxe edition of the Mass Effect 1 soundtrack. And as I said, I'm not quite sure who composed it, but because the main game composers are Jack Wall and Sam Hulick, that's how I'm going to list it. there's sort of that natural ambience. You can hear water running, which again, when you find the planet, you can tell it was once inhabited and had grand and very like, I don't know if Rococo is the right word, but like this statist kind of architecture, these big buildings and dramatic statues and so on, but it's all overgrown. There's, plants and vines like straddling and covering everything, and it's, very like dark and not well lit, so it looks like a once grand civilization that is no more, which again is very much the case. And I think there's a bit of that mystique in the track, and also with that rapid fire percussion and like synth bass line, I think it gives you a sense that like there's some urgency, you need to hurry, you need to save the galaxy and humans specifically by finding and utilizing whatever information may be there to discover. And again, you eventually find this AI called Vigil, who's been waiting for any later species that might find it to convey what happened to the Protheans, to describe as best as possible the threat that the Reapers are and what they represent, and their cold mechanical thinking about why biological species have to be culled in this way. And so yes, it's a very notable threshold in the game. As I said, it's right near the end, and in the context of the original trilogy, it's the beginning of everything that happens after that, and it's a really cool moment. So yeah, as I said, when I first got my hands on the soundtrack, I was perplexed. I was like, yeah, but where's the track that plays when you actually get to Ilos? Because this tune called Ilos, it's fine, but it's not the one that I would expect to be called Ilos. And I would later learn through the interwebs that it was called Ilos Battle and was left off of the original soundtrack. But again, if you go look up like a YouTube video of the track, you'll see in a lot of the comments where people are like, wait, so why wasn't this on the soundtrack? It's one of the best tunes, if not the best tune. So yeah, it's always confused me as well, but I think it's a great track. Shout out to Jack Wall, Sam Hulick, and anyone else who worked on this tune. So again, I don't really know specifically, but that's just the way I'm going to list it. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.